All right. Good morning, class. Hope everybody's feeling good today. I still see some of you are coming in, but listen, if you have your textbooks, go ahead and turn to page 133. I know we talked about this last week, but we're going to be starting on a new section today. It's time to talk about Limgrave. Limgrave is, first and foremost, a great vacation spot. Guys, listen, it's called the bread box of the lands between for a reason. Lots of fun stuff to do, lots of fun stuff to see. In fact, I recently got back from a trip to Limgrave myself last fall. A great time, highly recommend. Now, it also has some of the most biodiversity on the Great Steppes. All right, let's see here. We need to,
Yeah, excuse me? Excuse me, I have a question.
She has a question. Yeah, oh, what is it, Lisa?
The bookstore doesn't have any more fundamentals of glintstone sorcery textbooks, and Dr. Montgomery said you might know where one is.
No, I do not have any of those textbooks. You're the third student today to ask about that.
Okay.
I don't know where he got that idea, but you go back and you tell Dr. Montgomery, I don't have it. I don't know where it is. Those were last edition. I threw them out the last semester, so I don't have any of that stuff.
Fine, thank you.
It's a pretty wet place overall as southern regions go, with 15% more rainfall than the Weeping Peninsula and 86% more than Caelid. And all this rain means that the lowlands are going to be also wetlands, especially in the southwestern region of Limgrave. Limgrave is what we call a domain because all of its attached lands are part of Stormvale Castle and are retained for the use of our rightful ruler, Godric the Grafted, Lord of all that is golden. That was really good, guys. That was really good. Listen, usually we have week 3. We're still struggling with that, but you guys are getting it pretty early in the semester. That's a good sign. That's good stuff. Now listen, guys, there's 4 main regions within Limgrave. We got Main Limgrave, Mistwood, Stormhill, and Stormvale Castle.
Now, Main Limgrave is often called Limgrave proper. It's what you and I think of when we say Limgrave.
And it's one of the places pictured on the cover of our textbook. Probably the most famous location in Main Limgrave is Egg Hill Lake. And does anybody know why Egg Hill Lake is so well known?
Is it because of the dragon?
That's right, because there's a dragon named Agheel that lives in the center of the lake on some old stone ruins there. Now, it's just a migration habitat for him. He's actually an invasive species from up in Caelid, but hasn't really caused that much of a negative environmental impact because he keeps down the population of giant crabs there. Because without a giant dragon breathing fire on them, those crabs can get pretty out of control. It's actually completely safe to go see them here. The tourist guides obviously keep everybody back at the edges of the lake and stuff. We were able to on our trip to Limgrave last fall, and it was really an awesome thing to see. I mean, majestic, really cool stuff. It's completely safe as long as you follow the guidelines. Something I would highly recommend if you ever find yourself down that way. For you history buffs, be sure to visit Murkwater Catacombs. Now, Murkwater Catacombs are actually the grave of a banished knight named Ingval. Ingval and another knight named Oleg were some pretty major figures during the Shattering and were pretty much regarded as folk heroes overall Limgrave. And because of that, Omen King Morgott invited them to his employ. Now, Ingval did not accept, but Oleg did. And because of that, Oleg was given the honor of an Erd Tree burial when he finally passed away. Ingval didn't like that, though. Instead, he chose to be kind of a loner, a little bit of a rogue, and keep watch over a masterless castle, according to ancient texts. Whenever he died, his ashes were taken and placed in Murkwater Catacombs as a sign of respect for all that he had done for Limgrave. Now, some more theoretical historians believe that Ingval may have been the Stormlord that first Elden Lord Godfrey had to fight in order to claim his title, and this masterless keep over which he presided in the latter years of his life was in fact Stormvale Castle, but there's very little substantial evidence to back that up, so more than likely it's just a fun theory that could be true, but probably isn't. On our trip, we only got to see the outside of this place, sadly. It's really awesome, but the tour of it takes like 5 hours. If you have some time, you should really go see it, especially if you're interested in the history of the lands between. It's really an interesting and very eye-opening place to visit, but again, takes a long time. Now, it's on the banks of the Murkwater River, which is what feeds Lake Agheel down from the sea. And this whole area has been so irrigated by the river for so long that there's just these deep crags everywhere. Again, it's generally pretty safe if you stay on the trails and follow the guidelines from the tour guides, but don't go wandering off by yourself. It's not a place to go exploring, and it can definitely result in some accidents. I mean, not long ago we heard that story about the villager who fell down that embankment, and well, they say he may never walk again. But if you stay safe, generally you'll be all right. Again, this whole region is very wet and low-lying, which means you're going to find all kinds of mushrooms here, some arteria leaf, and even some poison bloom, which, like we talked about last week, not something you really want to be messing around with. Just pretty serious. Limgrave actually has more roa fruit, too, than anywhere else in the lands between. I mean, even when we were just traveling on the King's Road, you could see it way off in the distance, between the trees and the bushes, just all over the place. It's pretty cool stuff. If you're going to go out at night, though, you need to be prepared, especially in Limgrave proper, for the giant bats. They're not something to take lightly. I mean, they won't attack people most of the time, but if you get too close, they can get a little aggro. They're very scary to see if you're unexpected. We were on the way back from dinner one night, coming back to the Airbnb, and I had a certain fright, I'll tell you that. My Applebee's just about came right back up. I can say that much. But, just be prepared. Speaking of danger at night and from natural predators, it's time to talk about Mistwood, which is a very unique place. It's almost all forest.
In case the name wasn't clear enough.
And it has the only minor Erd tree in all of Limgrave. Minor Erd trees grow from seeds spread by the Erd tree during the shattering. Usually you'll find them surrounded by some naturally producing woody creatures that act as protective cells. And there's big ones that are called avatars and little ones called guardians. These are like white blood cells, but instead of protecting a body, they're protecting the Erd tree. Oddly enough, though, this Erd tree has none of those, and some people have a few different opinions. Generally, arborists say that it could be because of Mistwood Forest acting as sort of a natural buffer zone to keep away threats, or it might be the tree's adjacency to the sea. There's really no way to know, but it definitely is something that makes this a unique natural feature. A major landmark in one of the deepest parts of the forest is a haunted village. It used to be a hunting village back in the day that kind of fell apart and some of the prey dried up in the area, but some people say there's ghosts of merchants and stuff walking around at night. We went on a ghost tour actually to try and see some of it. I just didn't really see that much. It's a cool place. I would definitely recommend visiting, but you're probably not going to see any ghosts or goblins if you go out there at night. And you'll pay 70 runes a person for a tour. So if you want to avoid that, definitely sit this one out. The canopy of Mistwood is mostly hardwood, but you can find some evergreens here and there. Generally, though, it's going to be your run-of-the-mill deciduous hardwoods that make up the majority of the wood line. Like I said before, lots of roa fruit all over Limgrave. Mistwood is no exception. Even in the dark parts where there's not a lot of sun or other plants, you're still going to be finding roa fruit growing out there. Just some big, luscious, red berries all over the place below those nice, thick, tall trees. But you'll also find a healthy population of blood roses and, closer to the minor Erd tree, some tarnished golden sunflowers. Now, in case you're ever out in the forest and need to find your way around, or you're going to be taking an exam for this class,
a good thing to remember
is that tarnished golden sunflowers always grow facing the Erd tree. If you're in the forest and you're lost, you need to orient yourself, you can find one of these and it'll point you toward the Erd tree. On Mistwood's northern coast, there's actually a stretch of beach, which is very popular in the crab fishing industry, not so much in the tourism industry. And this is because those giant crabs that are down in Egg Hill Lake are also here. That's where they're native to, but there's no dragon up here to keep them at bay, so they just kind of populate all over the place. Most of the time they're okay, unless it's egg laying season or hatching season, in which case they kill anything that moves. So maybe be prepared for that if you're going to be going to this area. Something else in Mistwood to be prepared for are the bears. Because the bears of Mistwood should not be approached. They are serious guys with serious goals, and they too pretty much kill everything in sight, especially hominoids. Oddly enough, though, they leave the goats in Mistwood alone. Some people think this is because the goats keep down the undergrowth and the bears can move around the forest more easily. I'd say it's just because the goats are quick and roll away, and it's not worth all that energy of a chase just for a bear to get one little rolling goat. Our tour group didn't have any issues, but there was another one that the soldiers had to come in and ward off one of the bears because it was getting a little close. Generally, they are well fed, but they will not turn down an attack on a group of humans sometimes. It's not unheard of, so take it carefully and just always be aware of your surroundings in this area. If there's been a lot of rainfall recently in that region, you're going to be finding some giant rats hiding out in the darker parts of the forest, taking refuge from the flooding that can occur elsewhere. These guys are very chill. You're not going to have any issues. If you have any kids, they'll probably like to go take pictures with them, even feed them some bread. There's no accounts of giant rats ever hurting anybody, so you'll be pretty safe and just pretty harmless little dudes, really. Next up, it's time to talk about one of the most environmentally interesting areas in all of the lands between, Storm Hill. And Storm Hill's called this for two reasons. There's lightning and there's wind. It's pretty barren because of this. Not a lot of people go up that way. And another reason they don't go up that way is the trolls. As you'll learn next year in Intro to Lesser Giants, trolls don't like human beings. They will kind of just tear us apart at the slightest provocation. Because of that, the area is pretty barren. Not a lot of tourism, not a lot of development happening. It's also barren on a natural life case because the wind is so strong that there's not much foliage. So any large animals don't have much to eat. There's not a lot of fruit that grows there. There are some trees in the lower areas and around some man-made structures, but out in the open, it's just low, bristly grass. Birds of prey love it though, because they can fly way up high and see little goobers down in the grass that they want to eat. And because of this, 48% of eagles in Limgrave and 77% of owls live on Storm Hill.
Hey man,
Yeah, Saxon, what's up, bud?
yeah, can I take the exam a day later than everybody else? I'm gonna be out of town on Monday, and I can't take it. So can I do it in my own time slot?
No, you're gonna have to take the exam at the same time as everyone else. That's school system stuff. That's not even my choice. We gotta have it all standardized and everything. We can't set up outside exam times.
That works, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Back to the lesson. Now, easily the most well-known landmark here is the Limgrave Coliseum. We actually got to go to a tarnished 1v1 fight series that was happening there on our trip that I was talking about earlier. We went to Limgrave last fall, in case you didn't know, but it was a cool time. I mean, don't go if you're not into bloodshed. Yeah, they keep it real down there, but yeah, it's a fun time. You know, it was $80 a person. It's really not a big deal, but it's just fun. If you have the time and want to check something cool out, I'd recommend. There's festivals all year long. It's kind of an exclusive thing. I probably got in because I was an educator, but it's still something you should look into, and maybe you'll qualify to get into. A big tourist attraction in Storm Hill, too, is the view of Stormvale Castle. It's one of the clearest and best in the entirety of the lands between if it's a clear day. Those don't really happen a lot because it's Storm Hill. There's a lot of storms on the hill that you use to see Stormvale Castle. There's some tapestries of it in our textbook on page 152 I would recommend looking at. It's definitely a sight to behold. When we were there, yeah, it was pretty cloudy, so we didn't get to see much, but again, it's something you want to see. It's very cool stuff. For the survivalists among us, you'll want to know that the erdleaf flower is very common in this area, and something that will also be on the exam, erdleaf flowers can be used to make a warming stone in case of emergency. Something very good to know if you're out and about at night. Some people used to teach that it was actually because of fallen Erd tree leaves that these flowers exist, but there's no evidence for that. They're just the same general color and shape as Erd tree leaves, but that's about it. More than likely, it's just happenstance of their environment. Now it's time to talk about the section you've probably all been waiting for, Stormvale Castle. One of the biggest ecological oddities of this area are the thorns. They can be found inside the castle, on the castle walls, in the hardwood forest around the castle, and some soldiers there have even started using the thorns on their shield and armor as a representation of their brave and noble duty, keeping us all safe every single day. Some may even call this the thin thorn line, if you will.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life.
The origin of these thorns, you ask? Well, no one really can decide on that. Probably they're the result of this area being much higher in elevation than the rest of Limgrave, and the vines naturally produced thorns to protect themselves from herbivores of the area. Some conspiracy theories say that the thorns could be linked to the practice of grafting, but this is just generally completely untrue. Grafting, in fact, is a very safe and legal procedure. Only 44% of patients have negative side effects after grafting, so it's really nothing to worry about. The remains of some willing grafting donors have created a very unique necrobiome with excessively high proteobacteria levels found in 3 of 5 disposal areas tested. So an interesting future if any of you are microbiologists out there. If you end up going to Stormvale, you're gonna want to see one of my favorite animals, the warhawks. They're some of my favorite creatures in the entire world because they have weapons grafted to their bodies. Guys, some of them even wear hoods so they can stay focused on the task at hand. They're a symbol of the might and righteous leadership of our Lord and Savior, Godric the Grafted, Lord of all that is golden. Right, good stuff. They've been bred at Stormvale for generations, and you're probably not going to find these most other places in the lands between. So definitely check them out if you got a little bit of time. They're a sight to see. In theory, another great animal you could see there are the elder lions. And I say in theory because they haven't been seen in a while. But 6 years ago, there were 2 confirmed elder lions living somewhere within Stormvale Castle. These guys were generally used for gladiatorial games before the Shattering. Now, most of the time, they're used for martial purposes. They'll keep watch over areas, they'll secure locations, stuff like that. In case it wasn't clear, they will murder anything they see. So definitely want to stay away from them. They got weapons chained to their legs because no one's ever been able to take them off. You got to get close enough to touch it to take them off, and if you can do that, well, you're probably going to die. So they don't really do that too much. Something that's going to be on the exam as well, the Redmane Knights have actually incorporated the attack patterns of the Elder Lions into their own training, which is something you'll notice if you've ever seen the 2 side by side, which you probably never will, but you'll still have to talk about it on the exam. It's not going to be multiple choice. It's going to be essay. Lot of essay. Other residents of Stormvale Castle are living jars who mostly work in the tourism sector. They'll do gift shops, they'll guide tours sometimes, and even be reenactors in the more living history parts of the castle. When I was getting my undergrad at the Academy of Rea Lucaria, my major, of course, was in botanical botany, which is why I'm teaching this class, but my minor was in living jar studies. They're a big part of the culture of Limgrave, and I've never actually met a living jar I didn't like. You know, they're just all chill folks. Listen, I mean, my favorite professors were all living jars. To this day, some of my best friends are living jars as well. One place to touch on as we wrap up that's often overlooked on trips, documentaries, coverage, whatever, of Limgrave is the Chapel of Anticipation. While a geological wonder, not much life can be found on cliffs rising from the sea. Or is there? Forgot about halophytes, didn't you? You all forgot about halophytes. I know you forgot about them. They're easy to forget, right? If you're a layman, if you're uneducated. I'm not, of course. I have a doctorate, but it's easy to forget. All over the cliffs between the chapel and Stormvale Castle, we got some sea campions. We got rock samphires, buckshorn plantains, and some sea beets. I know a lot of you out there are sea beet fans. Somebody's got to be. They're still making them. I know somebody's got to be a fan or they just wouldn't do that. I'm not a beet guy myself, but I mean, if you're a beet fan, nothing against you, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But I'll leave the rest of that to your intro to rugged coastline professors. I don't want to take all of their thunder, but it is a very interesting type of natural biology if that's the kind of stuff you're into, which of course I am. All right, guys, I see we're getting pretty close on time, so I'll go ahead and let y'all go a little bit early. Next week, we're going to be talking about Liurnia of the Lakes, which means we're getting into some aquatic life forms, some goofy little goobers living down there in that constant ankle-deep water that we all just love so much. Listen, if anybody's struggling with this information, you want to prepare for the exam a little bit, I'd recommend reading your textbook, first of all, which seems to be a problem, judging by the first exam of the semester, but we'll let that go for now. If you need to set up some study times, reach out by email, and we'll see what we can do. Anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Y'all have a good one.